But besides that, I do think is gonna do very well in the Premier League and will end up first as champions. First.
That's a bold prediction because I have second. What's up guys and welcome back to the most important video of this year. Our Premier League 24-25 season predictions. Which team is going to win the league? Which teams are getting relegated? And where do we rank your favorite teams? We are really excited for this video, aren't we, Roc?
We definitely are. And guys, we're so curious if we do actually good with our prediction. And I think we can definitely bring some luck for your teams this season. And we want to set a like goal. So, do you think we can hit 100 likes? Make sure to like this video, subscribe on the channel, and share this video with your Premier League friends.
And with that being said, let's move over to the first team already, which is no other than AFC Bournemouth, who have had, I want to say, a decent transfer period. Brought in Sinisterra from Leeds, Dean Huijs, of course, the Dutch slash Spanish talent.
He is great.
And of course, they still have Dominic Solanke on board at the moment, who has been linked to Spurs, which is going to be interesting to see if he stays, if he leaves, because he had a really great season last year.
I definitely think that's a really important player. If you're gonna miss him, it's gonna impact your stable status.
100%, and especially with our predictions at the moment, we have considered Solanke, who's going to stay at Bournemouth, and yeah. Where do you have Bournemouth in your prediction?
I have Bournemouth on the 13th spot.
And I'm gonna shake your hand because
No
I have
way.
Bournemouth exactly on the same spot as well.
Then.
So very interesting to see. And now let's move on to the next team.
So now it's time for Aston Villa, who definitely proved themselves last season when they overachieved and got 4th in the Premier League. But now Aston Villa has made some huge signings as well, with Ian Mason for 37 million, who was of course playing for Dortmund while on the loan from Chelsea, Champions League finalist for 37 million. Insane player. Besides that, you got some other transfers like Barkley as well, Amadou Onana from Everton for 45 million, which looks like a great midfielder.
Definitely great signings there for Aston Villa, but they've also lost two really key players, with Diaby leaving to Saudi, which is very tough to see in my opinion, because he is only 24 years old, and Douglas Luiz, who has left to Juventus. Of course, Aston Villa had a great season last year, 4th as you said, which has gotten them Champions League football, and I do think because they are playing Champions League football and have those important midweeks, they won't do as well as last year, and that is why I have them put 7th in my prediction.
I definitely agree. It's gonna be pretty tough for them to overachieve again, so I definitely think 8th.
Now moving on to Arsenal, who have fumbled the league 2 years in a row now, but they are looking to come for the title this year as well, especially with the big transfers of Calafiori, Mika Marino and Raja, who's now officially an Arsenal player after he was loaned from Brentford last year. And of course, there are a lot of big players coming back, just like
Jurrien Timber finally coming back from injury, who I think would do really well at Arsenal. The defensive backline, which is so strong with them. Only problem at Arsenal is of course they're missing striker masterpiece, because Havertz definitely did a great job, but they're missing that insane striker. But besides that, I do think Arsenal is gonna do very well in the Premier League and will end up first as champions.
First. That's a bold prediction because I have Arsenal in second.
Okay.
Next on the list is no other team than Brentford, who managed to finish 16th last year despite having quite some injuries, especially defensively, with the likes of Ben Mee and Ethan Pinnock missing quite some games because of injury. And of course, we have to remember that Brentford didn't play with Ivan Toney for the first half of the season because of his big gambling suspension.
And the thing is as well, is Ivan Toney actually gonna leave this summer? Because that is their main striker. But even when he does, Brentford definitely still has a strong core with Mbeumo, Wissa, Norgard
and Jeanette as well, who's a really underrated player.
And besides that, they made a new transfer with Thiago from Club Brugge, who definitely scored some decent goals there, and quite a few as well.
Yeah, only annoying thing at the moment is that he has to go through surgery, which means he will be back, I think, in January.
That's quite tough, to be honest, for Brentford, and that's why I have them 12th.
12?
I do think
that's
they're
quite high.
Better than last season.
I think 12 is really high. I think they will have exactly the same season as last year, and that's why I have them 16.
Alright, let's go to the next team. So then we got Brighton, and Brighton just got in a new manager, Fabian Huitzeler from St. Pauli. And guys, Brighton wasn't the best last season defensively especially, but now with the new manager, who had an insane defensive record with St. Pauli becoming champion in the second Bundesliga as well, it looks way better for Brighton this season. Besides that, there's one big hit for Brighton with Pascal Gross leaving the team.
course. Besides that, Pascal Gross leaving is really, really tough. They are also getting some players back from injury with the likes of Mitoma, Evan Ferguson, Solly March, and Estupinian, who are very, very important players for Brighton, of course. And I do think with their squad, if they manage to do well under their new coach, who, by the way, is only 31 years old, very, very young, they could have a phenomenal season. And that is why I have Brighton 11.
Ooh, okay. That's lower than I was expecting, to be honest, because I have them 9th.
That's really high in my opinion.
I think they could do really, really well.
Moving on from Brighton now to Chelsea, who have of course sacked Pochettino during the end of last year and have now picked up a new manager who's building a whole new squad with the likes of Jurgensen coming in, who in my opinion isn't even their first goalkeeper. They are also after Penders, an 18-year-old Belgian goalkeeper from Genk, which is very, very weird to me as well. In addition to that, Dewsbury Hall, who is in my opinion is a good transfer, came in from Leicester, had a very, very good season there with 14 goals and 12 assists if I'm not mistaken. And last but not least, they've also picked up a 19-year-old Barcelona forward, Marc Guiu. So excited to see what he can do in the Prem.
I mean, in addition to that, we of course got Nkunku, who's actually coming back from injury as well, and who had a very, very good pre-season.
Excited to see what he can do.
Definitely. Besides that, we know Chelsea wasn't really strong defensively as well last season. Gallagher is leaving as well.
Their ex-captain.
Man, that was such an important player for Chelsea. But, I mean, besides that, there are just way too many players at Chelsea. There's a lot of depth, which is normally maybe a good thing, but at Chelsea it doesn't look like a very good thing because chemistry won't be as good, same as last year.
And that is exactly what we have seen currently in pre-season, because Chelsea conceded 4 against Celtic, 4 against Manchester City, and drew 2-2 against Wrexham, which just aren't good results. And that is why it might be a little bit surprising after all this Chelsea slander, but I actually have them 6th.
I mean, I think Chelsea fans will be happy with my prediction as well, because I do think they're gonna get back on track and end up 4th.
Where do you guys think Chelsea will end this season? Let us know in the comments.
Crystal Palace up next, a team who have definitely proved themselves in the last end of the season and have a really strong basis with Gueye, Eze, Wharton and the big striker Mateta, of course. But there is a small risk of Eze and Gueye actually leaving the club this summer, which would be a big hit. Besides that, they made 2 transfers with Kamara and Sarr coming in as possible replacements for Olise.
Of course, who has left for Bayern for some big money, and Olise is a big loss for them because when he came back from injury, he really carried that Crystal Palace team, and that's exactly why they had a good ending to the season. But I do still think Crystal Palace could fight for Europe this season, and I want to say, you guys, Jean-Philippe Mateta, definitely one to watch. He has been smashing it in the Olympics as well, and that's exactly why I have Crystal Palace 10th.
10th, alright. Mine is pretty close to be honest, because I think Olise is gonna be a tiny hit with Crystal Palace 11th.
Interesting prediction. On to Everton, who were the 2nd lowest scoring team in the Premier League last year. And when we are looking at their forwards this season as well, except for Calvert-Lewin, they do not really have a big striker or a good goal scorer, which I do think the goals are going to be a big problem for them once again. On the other hand though, defensively, they are incredible, maybe phenomenal even, with Pickford in net, and of course Braithwaite, who had a phenomenal season as well last year, but could unfortunately leave Everton behind in this season.
I mean, Everton of course has that manager Sean Dyche, who makes that defensively mastermind in that back line, and besides that he puts fire into the game. He has that experience of keeping those worst teams in the Premier League, and that's exactly what I think they will be doing again, which I have them 16th.
16th, great prediction, because I have them 1 place above in 15th.
Alright. Now Fulham, which isn't the greatest team in the Premier League, but did end up 13th last season. Besides that, they made a huge loss with losing Palhinha as their biggest player there. They did get Smith Rowe and Sessegnon in to the club though. Besides Palhinha, no one else was really lost.
And of course, they still have the Palhinha money to spend during this transfer window. But at the moment of recording, there are no signs of Fulham signing anyone big for a Palhinha replacement, which is going to be interesting and makes it a little bit tough for us to predict where Fulham will be ending the season. On the other hand though, I do think their striker, Muniz, could have a phenomenal season. I've seen him play a few times last year as well, and I do really like what I am seeing, especially for his age 23, and he really gives everything on that pitch. So maybe he could carry Fulham like Dominic Solanke carried Bournemouth last year. And that's exactly why I have Fulham on 14.
I actually have them on 13 as well.
Let's go!
So now on to a team that hasn't been in the Premier League for 22 years, which is just absolutely insane because it is Ipswich. Ipswich actually got back-to-back promotion now into the Premier League, which is just an insane streak for them.
100%. And a fun fact as well is that they have gotten that back-to-back promotion with the same manager as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how he will guide Ipswich during this Premier League season. In my opinion though, especially when you're looking at their whole squad and the new transfers that they have made with Muric and Delap, who in my opinion just aren't Premier League quality, and the fact that they have still loads and loads of players from their League One days, I just don't think they have a chance of staying in the Premier League, and that's exactly why I have Ipswich in 20th as my first relegated team.
Ooh, I definitely agree, and I think they're gonna relegate. I actually put them in 20th as well, respectfully.
Next up, another promoted team from the Championship, which is no other than Leicester City, who in my opinion had a very decent season in the Championship last year, of course, and especially because they got carried by no other than Kieran Dewsbury-Hall, who has now left them to go on to Chelsea. He scored 14 goals and 12 assists, which is in my opinion a big loss for Leicester City. And besides that, I do think with him being gone, and the forwards that they have at the club right now, I think they will struggle to find the net as well, which is really tough, especially when you are playing in the Premier League.
Yeah, and with their centre-backs Vestergaard and Wout Vaes, I
enough.
just don't think it's gonna be good enough for them to really perform in the Premier League. Besides that, they might have some deducted points with that financial fair play issues.
Which is really tough for them as well.
Tough. And besides that as well, is the fact that they don't have a lot of money to spend on new incoming players. But although all those bad things are happening with Leicester, I do think they're gonna survive relegation and end up 17th.
That's a bold statement, because I have them, just like Ipswich, in the relegation battle at 18.
Alright.
Moving on to the most beautiful club in the Premier League, no other team than Liverpool. And Liverpool, in my opinion, is going to be quite exciting this year, because it's going to be the first year after the Jurgen Klopp era. We've now picked up Arne Slot as our new manager, and when we're looking at the preseason stats, it's looking quite promising, you know. We've beaten United, we've beaten Arsenal, and we've beaten Real Betis as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how we do during the season. And to add as well, Mo Salah is going to stay for one more year, probably his last year at Liverpool, and is looking sharp and strong.
I mean, with their new manager, of course, Liverpool might be a little bit inconsistent, especially at first. But besides that, they definitely have a shot. And they're looking for a number 6 as their main player, which is really important. And we just got in with some rumors that Zubimendi from Sociedad might be that new
phenomenal
number 6.
Phenomenal player.
I mean, I do think Liverpool is gonna end up third.
And I'm gonna shake your hand, because as a Liverpool fan myself, it hurts me to say that we won't finish first. But I am very realistic, and I have Liverpool in third place as well.
So guys, Manchester City, I don't think we have to say a lot about that team. I just know that Julian Alvarez just left to Atletico Madrid and that they got in Savinho from Girona.
Interesting player. We saw him live.
I mean, he was very good.
Very promising indeed. And of course, to add that, Manchester City, they have the best midfield in the world, the best manager in the world. So what is there to talk about? Manchester City is going to be my Premier League champions this season.
I mean, Arsenal already won for me, so Manchester City is actually going to end up second for me.
Interesting. Let's see who's going to be right at the end of this year.
So now Manchester United, who ended up last season 8th in the Premier League, but they did manage to get some European football by winning the cup. Manchester United did some incredible transfer business with getting Yoro in, but also Zirkzee. Besides that, they're still looking at Matthijs de Ligt and Mazraoui, which could mean a big Ajax era in Manchester United.
Definitely, and I do think if they manage to get in de Ligt and Mazraoui, their squad looks absolutely amazing, with of course Kobbie Mainoo still there, who is a phenomenal talent next to Bruno Fernandes. So their squad is really good, especially if they get de Ligt and Mazraoui in. I do think it is a do or die season for Manchester United and for Erik ten Hag after finishing 8th last year, which was really an underperforming season. So interesting to see how they will be doing. I do think they have a lot of quality this year, and that's why I have them in 4th.
4th? Wow, that is quite surprising, to be honest. I don't think they're gonna do that good, but I do think they're gonna get one position higher, 7th.
Now onto a team that in my opinion slightly underperformed last year in the Premier League, which is no other team than Newcastle United. Of course, last year they managed to play in the Champions League as well, which cost them a lot of points in the Premier League because their focus just wasn't on the league. Which in my opinion, it's quite a positive thing that this year Newcastle won't have any European football and can just fully focus on the league. And besides that as well, their main man, Tonali, their transfer of last year, is finally back eligible to play for them.
I mean, to add to that as well, Newcastle United has a big core as a team with Nick Pope, Cher, Botman, Guimaraes, who is
very
an
underrated
insane player, Anthony Gordon up top with Isaac as well, and of course you got the big man Trippier, who could make a transfer to Saudi, which I hope he doesn't make. It would be really interesting to see where Newcastle is gonna end up, and I put them in 10th.
Put them in 10th?
10th, yeah.
That's so low because, I mean, this might be an interesting pick from you because I actually have them very high. I have them in 5th because I do think now with the fact with no European football and they're just focusing on the Premier League, I think they will have a fully fit squad during the whole season, which means they will end in 5th and get European football this season.
I just don't think they're gonna do better than the other teams.
It's gonna be interesting to see who's right and who's wrong.
So.
Let me know what you guys think as well about Roc's prediction. Now on to Nottingham Forest, who since Nuno Santos has came in as their new manager has looked quite good defensively, because when we were looking in the stats, which I do like, I love stats, they were 4th in conceding expected goals against them, behind Arsenal, Liverpool and City, which means defensively they are looking really strong. And to add to their amazing defense, in my opinion, attacking wise they have got some promising players like Callum Hudson-Odoi, Elanga and of course Morgan Gibbs-White, who is a baller in my opinion as well.
I mean, I definitely agree with that, and besides that they did very good transfer business, at least some interesting transfer business with Milenkovic, who is apparently called the new Vidic.
Yeah.
And besides that you got Freuler from Bologna, who is a decent midfielder coming in there. And I do think Nottingham Forest does have a chance of not relegating, but they are gonna relegate in my opinion. 19.
Give them 19.
19.
Interesting take once again from Roc. I do think Nottingham Forest have enough in their team, in their squad with their manager to stay up, and that's why I have them in 17.
So now on to another team that just got promoted back into the Premier League with those really important playoffs. Southampton. And Southampton is gonna be missing a big piece of their team with Che Adams leaving the club. But they did get in some new transfers, and interesting ones to say the least, with Harwood Bellis, Flynn Downs and Sugawara coming in.
Yeah, very interesting transfers indeed. And in total, Southampton has spent £55 million during this transfer window, and I do think they are still very active to strengthen their squad. Because personally, I do think if they play the same style like they did in the Championship, they have no chance in staying in the Premier League. So it is exciting how they will be playing, especially tactic-wise, because last year they like to have the ball a lot, which I don't think is a smart tactic in the Premier League, which we have seen with Burnley last year, who under company tried to play the ball from the back as well and got punished for that many times. And that's exactly the reason why I do not have a lot of faith in the Saints or in Southampton this year, and that's why I have them 19.
Ooh, I definitely also think they're gonna be relegated in my last relegation spot, 18.
Now onto a team who hasn't won any prize since 2008, and I think everyone knows what team we are talking about. It's no other team than Tottenham Hotspur, who in my opinion haven't got the best squad. We know Ange Postecoglou is a really great manager, and they started off really good last year as well. But in my opinion, with this squad, currently with the fact of Højbjerg leaving and Ndombele leaving and only picking up a very talented player, Archie Gray, just don't think they have the best squad to do well this year.
I mean, besides that, I do think defensively they could do really well with Mickey van der Ven, Romero, Dragousset and Pedro Porro on the right there as well. But it will be very tough to end up in that top 4, and they didn't really do much in that transfer window as of yet. But I do think they're not gonna end up top 4, but they're gonna end 5th.
Which is in my opinion a really interesting prediction as well, because last year they finished 5th.
Exactly.
And I think Tottenham will underperform very hard this year. I'm just not convinced by the squad whatsoever, and this might be an interesting one. I'm sorry, Spurs fans, I do like you guys, but I have you guys in 8th.
Wow.
So no European football for you guys this season.
Are those bubbles? No, it's West Ham. And West Ham ended up last season 9th, but I do think they could do really, really well this season. They have had some insane transfers in this window so far, with Fulkrug, Somerville, Keelman, and now also confirmed Wan-Bissaka.
Yeah, very, very interesting indeed. Especially the transfers that they have made are a really, really big upgrade to the West Ham team, which in my opinion now, when you're looking at their full team, it's going to be very, very tough every single game week when, like a Liverpool or a Manchester City or Arsenal, when you have to go to the West Ham place, it won't be easy to win there. And that's exactly why I have them 9th. And I want to add as well, for me, I want to put them higher, especially because I don't think they have European football as well, which means they only have to focus on the league. But I just don't know what to expect from all the new players, and I don't know if they will be performing together.
I personally think they're gonna do very, very well, and that's exactly why I put them in the 6th spot.
Wow, interesting. Interesting to see West Ham there.
Yeah.
And it's going to be even more interesting to see if you are right. Now, on to the last team of our Premier League 24-25 prediction. We still have Wolves left, and a quick spoiler for you guys. Wolves are going to be my dark horse for this upcoming Premier League season, which I've seen a Rocket's face already is a quite interesting take. But when I looked at their forwards, I was quite impressed with the likes of Jurgen Strand Larsen, Hwang Hee-chan, Cunha, Sarabia, Guedes, and of course Pedro Neto. They could be carrying the attack at Wolves for sure. On the other hand though, they've lost Kilman to West Ham, which was their main man defensively, which is gonna be a tough loss for them.
I mean, I don't think Wolves is an insane team. They're just there in the Premier League, and I don't think they're gonna be that amazing, but they will probably survive that relegation. And defensively, with Kilman going to West Ham, I think it's gonna be really, really tough and a bit weak, especially with that window closing.
I kind of agree with what you are saying, but I still think Wolves are going to do really, really well, and that is why I have them put in 12th.
Alright, wow. I mean, I just think they're going to survive the relegation and end up 15th. And with that, this is our Premier League prediction.
If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, of course, if you haven't. And let us know in the comments which one of us has made the better Premier League 24-25 prediction. And of course, guys, with that being said, thank you guys for watching, and we will see you guys very, very soon. Peace.